there's a lot of just things going on with the transfer portal opening. The NCAA made an adjustment to the recruiting visit rules. But let's start with the transfer portal. April 15th, Saturday, the transfer portal will open for 15 days for the spring period. And I did find it interesting, Matt Rule, I asked him on Tuesday about it, but that, he kind of said if he had his druthers, they would have been playing their spring game even later than they are now. But you kind of have to give your program some time with this window. And, you can't, have your spring game after the window closes, if guys are going to leave and whatnot. So this window, it sounded like a good idea. In about 3 weeks, I'll be curious if people still like the idea of having this specific window that kind of is in the middle of spring practice for a lot of teams.
Right. I mean, Nebraska's spring game is April 22. So it's smack dab in the middle of this notification window. I'd say it's awkward. Maybe Matt Rule would say, no, it's not.
Why not make the window May 1 to May 15th?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, does it have to do with recruiting because the coaches go out on the road? But
could be.
The head coach, so doesn't go on the road.
Not in the springtime.
So the head coach would have every opportunity to individually meet with the teams. In fact, head coaches will tell you May is their boringest month because they don't get to go anywhere.
They don't get to go anywhere. I don't know why. I just know it feels from my vantage point like it would be awkward. Why do I say that? Here's why. Because right now, Matt Rule, again, is in this very intense spring where they're installing new systems. Sean, they're trying to learn about players, where players' strengths are, and putting them in the proper positions. Oh yeah, and by the way, they have guys probably contemplating leaving, and they got to get a handle on that. And the support staff handles a lot of this, but they got to figure out who they're going to bring in too, right?
Well, what the numbers are, because
Nebraska's at 99,
and that's counting Alante Brown,
scholarship players.
He's got to come back and get through whatever appeal process he has to get back to the university.
Okay, lay it out clearly for the listeners. There are 99 scholarship players in Nebraska. They got to get down to probably 83 or 82.
Yeah, if they're going to take any additional portal players, they have to be below 85.
So 17 players are probably out.
I mean, I would think they would like to be at 82 or 83. But the other thing, too, is what about walk-ons that are deserving? Like, I kind of don't like when they say, oh, just give him an NIL scholarship. No, if John Bullock or if
Alex
Bullock or Ty, I mean, if some of these guys play
Han
and play like starting level reps, I mean, shouldn't they get a scholarship? I get this NIL era we're in, but
I think Rule would be open to that. If there's any head coach that would be open to it, it's Matt Rule because of he was a walk-on, and there's a lot of reasons why he makes a lot of sense at Nebraska, Sean, and that's one of them. He was a walk-on at Penn State. He went, and he would describe himself, he was a low-level walk-on. In fact, he was injured when he went there, and they made him a student manager for a period. I mean, he climbed a long way at Penn State as a walk-on. He'll be mindful of the walk-ons.
No, I do get, though, like they can have an NIL package or opportunity for a guy that's going to be the exact same, but people don't respond. Like I go back to volleyball. Kinole Akana was basically offered that type of package,
an NIL package
that was going to be exactly the same as a scholarship,
commensurate,
and they didn't like that.
Kinole didn't.
No, and she went to Texas, and they just didn't. You got the best libero in the country at Nebraska, Lexi Rodriguez, and Kinole might be the second best,
right? So, yeah, no, it's something to watch. It'll be fascinating kind of to watch how it plays out. Matt Rule is available to the media on Saturday after the scrimmage. And one of the questions likely will be, can you say right now who's in the portal, who's going in?
Because if you're leaving, you're not dressing out for that scrimmage, right?
Right. And I would think the coach could just go ahead and tell you a few names if they're already in it.
Well, if they go in it, I mean, Matt Zenith from On3 and our people, I mean, they literally it's like a bit board. They see the names pop in there as they hit.
See, the question will be, is there any, prominent names, guys that have played a lot of football here that go in? There'll be some predictable ones that, down the line guys that haven't seen much action. There'll be others that don't go in the portal, that they retire effectively, right? So I don't know.
And the great thing about our company, they honestly will have something done before we even know it even hits the portal.
Good.
And then so our main job is to kind of react and kind of, what's step 2 of these portal entries if they do happen, or where it's at. But the general so-and-so entered the portal, like that will be up on the site a lot of times the second it hits the portal.
I think this is okay to raise this. I don't envision like a Casey Thompson going in the portal.
I mean, I just think about NIL, and he's definitely on an NIL thing here at Nebraska. He's got
a deal.
And like, how would he be able to get, unless he found something similar, but then where's he going to go and win a job at a Power 5 program right now? Like what? So yeah,
could be a non-Power 5 though.
Yeah, I'll be curious how that all shakes out. I do want to hit on this in this headline as well too. Sip, the NCAA instituted some new changes. A couple of things. They're now going to allow coaches, not this spring, but going forward, they'll be able to actually talk to juniors at schools. They're not in homes, but it used to be called the bump.
Right.
So when you went to a school, you technically couldn't talk to a kid that was a junior, whether it was in the fall or the spring. So starting this fall and starting in the spring of next year, when you go into a high school and you want to talk to a underclassman, a junior, you can talk to them now.
Yeah.
And not make it so. I can't tell you how many times in my career, like kids will tell you so-and-so came to my school and talked to me. It's in the spring. You can't write that because
right.
This is where Nebraska having a large media group, it hurts Nebraska. Like where, if a media guy writes like the so-and-so coach talked to me at the school and you put that, Iowa State turns that in. Iowa turns that in.
So
that's happened in like these 20 years of doing this. Like you have to kind of know but every coach was going into schools and talking.
So it makes sense for the NCAA just to go ahead and allow those to happen because they were happening.
Yeah. It was an archaic rule. Like, why would you not let juniors talk to coaches?
Right. So now are
you trying to hurt these guys?
No. Okay. Calm down there, big boy. It's fine now. It's cleared out. It's cleared up. So and then the other rule is a big one too.
Yeah. And so now they're going to take the lid off official visits. You were limited to 5 official visits that couldn't start until April of your junior year, all the way until technically January of your senior year. Now you'll be allowed unlimited official visits, but 1 per institution, unless there's a head coaching change. You get a mulligan, you get a redo. Like this year, Nebraska's guys all got a redo. So that's going to be interesting to see. My biggest question though is how early will they let the juniors take the official visits? Will it have to be April, or will they allow officials to happen in January or March? Because what we're seeing, I just talked to a kid this week. He's gone on 9 unofficials in March and April to like major programs. So, they've got to look at this closer. Like these kids right now want to go on visits, period.
In the springtime.
They want to go. We'll have some more recruit spotlight interviews. When we talk to these kids that come around, that they go everywhere, every weekend. It's incredible. And
it is.
The fact that the institution technically can't pay for these trips. They can't even give them lunch.
Right.
They charge them $10 for lunch.
Some guys in NIL states are getting paid for, right? Those guys.
Missouri, Kansas, Texas, Arizona. Those are states where there is no NIL. I believe Florida too.
Okay.
So they can't,
they go on unofficial visits.
If they go somewhere,
they're all unofficial, but some are paid for, some are
not. They can't have any NIL opportunities at all because it's illegal in their state, and then they would be ineligible for their high school.
It's all. I can't imagine being just the average fan and trying to figure out all the rules and all the nuances of college football right now. I imagine when people listen to this, sometimes they're just like, how did this happen? There's some NIL. So an example, there's some states where a recruit can go on an unofficial visit and have an NIL deal attached to it where it's basically paid for. There's some states that don't allow that. I mean, that's very odd to me. But there's nothing you can really do. It's a state by state.
Yeah, there was a kid
question.
last year from the state of Georgia, signed with another program, but I mean, he would get money for every trip he'd go on.
And a lot of these kids, and then the other thing that that just, Sean, people don't understand this. There are kids that go on, like you were just saying, they're like professional recruits. They go on trips every weekend
to big places.
Yeah.
They're not going to like Ball State and
no
Eastern Michigan. I mean,
No,
they're going to like Miami and A&M and Tennessee. And
some of it's for fun. I mean,
yeah.
Some of it's for fun. I mean, it's not maybe
some of these kids get addicted to it.
Yeah.
I think they're like, God, I can go somewhere else now.
Stay in a nice hotel. If it's an NIL situation, they're taken care of at a high level. They can bring friends with them. They meet people. Now, if you're a head coach at one of those schools, you say, okay, well, maybe he ends up liking it here and he wants to keep coming back. And if he's one of the best pass rushers in the country, well, that would be wonderful for us. And what's it matter if the NIL operation's paying for it? It's no skin off our back, right?
I think the other thing too, because I mean, you're seeing it ever like Oregon. Like how are guys getting out to Oregon?
NIL deals.
Exactly. I mean, it's just not easy when you're in a place like Nebraska, Oregon, Notre Dame. I mean, you're just located at a place where there's not as much talent by you. So it will be like, I'm curious if coaches like this rule of the unlimited number of official visits. And I kind of think there will be a strategy that these unofficials that are happening now, they're still going to happen. And you got to sit on that official and use it at the right moment. And so,
will there be more in-season officials?
Maybe, but not everybody. Nebraska, by far, I don't even know if there's a close second place in the last 20 years, has done by far the most in-season official visits of anybody. It's incredible.
It's taxing. It can be on the staff.
Yeah, when you have 13 officials in for a game.
Say in a lot of night games these days. Now think about it.
So 13 official visitors, that's like 40 or 50 people that come in with a kid.
Okay, so now if you walk through it. If you're playing a night game, okay, that coaching staff, do you maybe have some degree of contact with those players and those families after the game? You're getting into midnight, 1 o'clock. Now you're coming back the next day, and what do you got to do, Sean? It's massive preparation on Sunday for the coming opponent, right? You know, you've been covering college football for a long time. What is Sunday for a coaching staff? It's a massive preparation day.
Oh yeah, and
it's
honestly,
massive.
My experience is like with recruiting in Nebraska, they'll do a brunch, like some sort of kind of brunch with the recruits, and then they get them out of there. Like they don't want the recruits around all day Sunday
because they have to get the coaches have to get a game plan prepared for the players. That's part of what's going on. There's a lot going on.
Now it will be different with Matt Rule because Monday is going to be the off day again. So like there will be kind of a nice preparation day on Mondays. And I can see why you would do that. I mean, if you played a night game on Saturday, it's really hard to come up Sunday and just get it all ready for the next day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's again, this is oftentimes these conversations wind back to this is very taxing on coaches. And I think the NCAA has been pretty mindful of that with recent legislation, and there's just only so much you can do. It's going to end up being taxing.
Yeah, I just wonder, like in Nebraska's shoes, will they want to use the official if they can use them in March or April?
I don't know.
Well, they want to. I still think June is like the sweet spot. I think June is a great month to bring people to Nebraska.
Now, yes. Now, are you talking juniors?
Well, guys going in their senior season that plan to commit in the summer. Yeah. You've got to get them here.
Yeah. And you've talked about everything's getting sped up too.
I mean, by July 4th, a lot of the landscape is gone.
Right. I mean, players are committing earlier and earlier. You just saw it with Gage Ginther, who just committed to Tennessee, and it sort of took everybody by surprise. Here we are he commits in early April. One of the top offensive line recruits in the country. And that you're seeing that more and more.
And I think we have him underranked at On 3. I think he's a 3-star, but he is the top player in Colorado.
Yeah, I shouldn't. Yeah, maybe not one of the top offensive linemen in the country, but he is the top player in Colorado.
I think he doesn't have much of a value. People just don't have a great evaluation of him. He's got great offers.